Hello, my name is Sharon Robson. I'm a consultant at SoftEd, and today I'm going to talk to you about my experience in Agile transformations. As an Agile leader, or as someone leading any sort of transformation, agility or otherwise, there's a few key things that I always do. The first thing is you need to set the vision, and you need to very clearly articulate that vision. And it can't be generic motherhood statements. It has to be very much couched in the outcome that we're aiming for, and it needs to be valuable to the organisation, to the leadership, and to the teams who are going to be going through the change. Once you've established that vision and you've communicated it widely and frequently, and you've given yourself an option for questions, you've always got to have that feedback loop, you need to then talk about the roadmap. How are we going to achieve the vision? And the roadmap needs to be detailed enough that people can understand what's coming next and what the path they're going to follow is, but not so detailed that you can't change it. You don't want to be ambiguous, but you need to be adaptive. So we need to build key stage gates, we need to understand what are our milestones, and we also need to know where are our potential pivot points. Transformations need to have momentum. And it can be very difficult when you're starting with a new organisation or you're starting a new transformation to overcome the initial inertia. Start slowly. Bells and whistles, big bang, large change just does not work. When we're doing a transformation, I always design the way that we change in small, easy to consume increments. Learn something new, apply it, bed it in. Then learn the next thing, then learn the next thing. We're always looking for those feedback loops to make sure that what we are learning, what we are changing, is adding value. The other thing that we want to be very conscious of is risk. Making a transformation can be seen as, and indeed is, very risky to your organisation. So any transformation needs to have the risks very clearly articulated. We need to look for and manage the risk triggers, but we also build risk controls into what we're doing to make sure that we are looking for and paying attention to any risks that could be occurring. We want to have a structured approach to the thinking, and we want to have lots and lots of opportunities to stop and assess, get the feedback to make sure we are on the right track. You cannot do a transformation without thinking it through. You can't just say, let's go. You have to have the plan. You have to have your strategic direction. Then you have to have your tactical implementation. Working together with the organisation is key as well. My approach is always to embed myself. I don't want to become a single point of failure though. So any transformation has to be about enabling the organisation to own their own transformation. The role of a transformer is to be a catalyst, and the role of a transformer is to make sure that the organisation knows that you will be leaving. You have to design a way for the organisation to own the transformation. You can't make the organisation dependent on the transforming team. The other thing that we need to do is make sure that the vision and the roadmap are quite structured and they break down into consumable, applicable elements of change. It can't be ambiguous and it can't be great motherhood statements. Specific, applicable, embeddable elements is what we deliver. The challenges you face with any transformation, they're challenges, they're hard. The first one that I usually come across is resistance, and where people say, we've tried this before. We've tried Agile. We've tried it, it didn't work. We tried it, it broke us. We tried it, we didn't deliver any value. What I find there is the transformation has been done the wrong way around. Everyone is focused on the how instead of the why. So when we start with a transformation, we need to address the why, then find the how that supports the why the best. The other major challenge is people want instant Agile. They want to be able to go from current state to future state without having to go through the montage. We know what the montage is. We see it in movies all the time. That's the bit where the hard work happens. We've got to understand that when you're doing a transformation, it does take time. You have to be exposed to the knowledge or idea. You have to then embrace it and embed it. You've got to practice these things before they become the norm. So organisations need to allow the time for the transformation to happen. Too much too soon is another key challenge. If we make too many changes to an organisation or a team, we end up just freezing it because no one knows what to do next. So, slow, systematic, deeply embedded change is the key to overcoming that paralysis that organisations get. The other challenge, which is very difficult to overcome, is knowledge hoarding. This really comes about because of the way that we reward people. We reward people because they know the most. The change when it comes to transformation and modern ways of working is knowledge sharing. So we've got to think about how can we reward collaboration and knowledge sharing rather than knowledge hoarding. This can often be very confrontational because it's seen as breaking down the power structures within the organisation. It's not about getting rid of your hierarchy. It's not about disestablishing any position. What it is about is leveraging the knowledge that is in that position, that is in that role, and using that knowledge for the whole of the organisation rather than for a very specific group or team. An agile transformation is all about change, but for me, the best outcome is when I see the changes in the organisation around their customers. The customers become more engaged. All of a sudden, the organisation is delivering better value more frequently, and they find that their customer base grows, and they start to get reputations for being really good, and customers start to say, hey, come and board this organisation. Their products are good. They're reflective of the product's values. So market share grows and revenue grows, which is just fabulous. The other thing that I've seen is that the organisation becomes as a whole less concerned, less scared about the future, more resilient and more able to deal with any changes. And I've actually seen one of the organisations I've worked with, which was really good, they started to disrupt themselves. And they said, as part of that whole mindset shift they went through, it's better that we are the ones challenging ourselves than having our competitors do that. I thought that was just brilliant logic, great thinking from the organisation. The other thing that I really see organisations do when they're achieving the benefits of the transformation is they have a culture that is supportive and safe and allows ideas and information to flow through the entire of the organisation. And what it means is that everyone feels empowered and engaged, and they're dialed in to the value that the organisation is there to deliver. And this is, for me, true gold in terms of an outcome. Because if an organisation is able to say, here is what we're here to do, here is what we are able to do, I find that brilliant. The lessons I've learned from being involved in transformations over quite a few years is that there's no one way. There are no rules. You can't get a transformation out of a book. Every transformation needs to be context dependent, and there needs to be very conscious decisions made about how to transform. Doing a transformation off the cuff or willy-nilly, that won't work. Doing a transformation from a book, that will not work. To transform, it needs to be owned by the organisation and by the teams and then by the individuals. So each transformation needs to be tailored and it needs to be specific to the needs of the organisation. Other key lessons that I've learned is you cannot do it overnight. I don't think that any organisation honestly believes that you can change the way you act and behave overnight. You can change behaviours very quickly, but You can't change how the entire organization acts overnight because we're a series of events that hang together. Every organization is like that. So when we make a change to one particular part of that series of events, we have to watch the ripple effect and then understand where next to change. It's not a linear process, and it's not something that we can predictively model. The roadmap for transformation needs to be very carefully curated, and we need to have built-in feedback loops to ensure that we're not actually breaking things we can't see. Applying a lean lens, using agile methods, but also looking at the different ways of working that are available from leadership, from management, from technology and information transfer. Weaving that all together is a very important thing to do. You can't have a monodimensional approach to the transformation. My own personal experience helps me as a consultant in many ways. The first one is I've actually been a senior leader in an organisation. I've led teams of people, I've worked in technical areas, and I've also worked in non-technical pure leadership areas. So when I engage with any of my clients or organisations that I work with, I really bring my experience in those areas. And what it means is I can talk to you about what it means to you and know that we're talking about the same thing. I've had experience on both sides of the coin. I've been a driver. I've also been a consumer of change. I know that we have to think about the whole instead of just the specific. I'm able to use your language, and that's the key thing that we have to do. We can't have a transformation that uses my language or a language of a framework. We have to use a language that works for you and for your organisation. When I am looking at my history, I also try to think about what it's like to be in beginner mind. The adoption of a new way of doing anything can be challenging. So I like to make sure that I come to a client or an organisation with beginner mind in my mind, so I don't try and change everything too quickly. It can take time to take a change to fruition. So I've learned over time as well to be patient, empathetic and sympathetic. Vitally important when we're looking at a transformation. It can't be pre-programmed on a timeline. We have to set flexible targets and goals because most important attribute of our organisations are the people, and we cannot break people by doing our transformation.